Hi folks, in this video we're going to try and find out if someone with an entry-level knowledge of 3D printing, that's me, can tackle this beastly Bambu H2D. Is it as mainstream and plug and play as the boffins at Bambu would have us believe? And can I actually unbox the bugger without putting my back out? So stick around as I crack on trying to find the answer to those burning questions. And I try and discover if I've made a spiffing investment or been spaffing £2 up this nice new wall of mine. Spaff. So what do you reckon, chaps? Spiff or spaff? Let me know in the comments. So I'm just going to stop there and say, make sure you get two people doing this because it was quite difficult on my own. Even though I am, with my prowess, people saying it's heavy, it's really not. Yeah. But in all seriousness though, guys, make sure you get somebody to help you. Don't do it on your own because my back is really aching now because of it. So let's get started. As it says, pull up on the box clip fasteners. Pull them out or something. And then give it a hug. There you go. So to the utter arse that cross-threaded this screw, I would just like to let you know that you're an absolute jeb-end. Do you know what you put me through? Oh, fuck's sake, finally. It's like you Loctited it with molten bloody metal. So you can rest assured that I've got no affiliation with Bambu because I paid for this out of my own money. I did contact Bambu to see if I could get a free one and they completely ghosted me. So I'm obviously too small fry for them at the moment. So there's no sort of hidden agenda or anything like that. If it's crap, I'll tell you. Anyway, it's time to put this in its final resting place, which is just behind the camera. Then I can start the final sort of switch on and calibrations. The plate will lift up and I can get rid of the last few bits of packaging under there. And then we can start getting onto printing. Fab. So obviously I did the usual calibration setup, and then after that the H2D has a high precision dual nozzle calibrational setting device thingy, which prints this lovely little pattern here. You've got to load in two different coloured filaments of the same type, and it does one through one nozzle, one through the other, and then compares the results. I don't know what any of it means, but I obviously thought it was a smart thing to do first. Then after that, I started printing this Jurassic Park STL from Gambody. The two-toned one on the left is from my workhorse A1, which I've had for ages and has been brilliant. And the one on the right is from the H2D using just straight out the box settings. And it's come out really, really well. It's probably lacking a little bit of fine detail compared to the one from the A1, but the A1 has got tweaked settings that I've been using for a while, so that's a bit more dialed in. But it is a fantastic printing considering it's off the default settings. I was really happy. So there's only one thing left to do and head over to Bambu Studio to give the settings a bit of a tweak. And this is when something quite odd happened that sent me into a bit of a spiral of despair. This flow rate calibration test looked like it had been squirted out of a hemorrhoid-riddled rectum rather than the precision instrument that H2D professes to be. And I swear, I didn't change the settings between printing this and doing the test, but I must have done something, right? So after doing the flow dynamics test, I had to up it to 5 from 0, so something was way off there. And then when I reran the flow rate calibration, it was around 0.25, so yeah, it was way off, even though I got a good print out of it. Maybe I just got lucky. So I printed off these two calibration stress tests and they look pretty good. Yes, there's a few poor areas of the print, but that's actually designed. It's designed to push past the limits of what your printer can do so you can see where its boundaries are. But then I had a couple of failed prints, not just with small fiddly bits, but with quite large bits with decent supports and brims. So this sent me off down a bit of a rabbit hole of the whole bed adhesion issues that people have been complaining about a little bit. I even went so far to get a Cryo Grit Glacier build plate, and it seems to have been the last one in the UK, so it did me a favour actually being forced to get it. And I ran a few bed adhesion stress tests, and I got confused with how easy these were to pull off the plate when it had cooled down. I guess I'm just used to the Super Tack on my A1 behind me, because they still stick, even when the plate's cool, and this thing just kind of lifted off so easily. I was like, I've got bed adhesion issues. So I went down a whole rabbit hole of coming up with different settings and testing. And every time it would lift off really easily because I let it cool. Absolute noob mistake. but when I tested it right after it finished printing, when the plate was still hot, it had really good adhesion. So luckily, things seem to be going okay. So much so that I started on a really big project, this huge Kratos from God of War from Wicked Studios. As you can see, it's going to be absolutely massive. And this is printed using 0.16 layer height and looks fantastic, really smooth on those areas, loads of detail, really happy with that. On the hands, look great. So things are moving along pretty nicely. And then for the head, I switched up to the 0.08 high quality setting. And as you can see, it looks magnificent. And no problem whatsoever with bed adhesion on the glacier plate and the really, really smooth back. So yeah, things are going on pretty damn good. And that's why I'm really excited about this printer, because yes, I'm a noob. No, I don't know half of what any of these settings do at all. And I probably don't really want to go into the weeds of it and really fine tune and tinker every last thing to the nth degree. And neither does their target market. In their promo video, for instance, it's, they're targeting families who aren't going to be like experts in 3D printing. And they just want it to come out of the box and work just like I did. And if I hadn't panicked myself, I would have had loads more done by now, but all's well that ends well. And at the minute, it is too much of a printer for me. But that's part of the excitement and why I'm really looking forward to the journey ahead, because I'm going to grow into this printer. For me, it's like future-proof for the next 5 years or something. And during that time, I hope to try out all its features, learn more about 3D printing for myself. I've not done any multicolor printing. I've not done any multi-material printing, but I want to do PVA support. That's the main reason I actually got this printer. Water-soluble supports, which would have been great to use on the Predator behind me. Would have made it so much easier. The AMS2 is fantastic. It's great to be able to just put your filaments in there, heat away, and just leave it be, knowing that they're not going to be soaking up all the moisture in the air, because it's been really humid in the UK recently, so there's lots of it about. I'm also using a really good, cheap Savol heater to put in the filaments for the left nozzle, because you have to have a different AMS per nozzle. But I have got Bambu's AMS HT on pre-order, so that should be with me in a couple of weeks. That being said, I am over the moon with it. I did go down a bit of a rabbit hole of bed adhesion worries and nightmares after reading all the terrible stories on Reddit, but so far I've not had too much of an issue. Although, just behind me, I've just seen a bed adhesion test fail on the PEI texture plate. The glacier plate seems to have worked perfect for it at 45 degrees, and I've tried at 55. I pulled the 45-degree one off the plate when the plate was still warm at the end of the print, and it had a little bit of stickiness to it, so that's not too bad. The 55-degree one is obviously a little bit harder to take off, and I think that's going to be the sweet spot for me. So I'm not quite sure why it failed on the texture plate, but I do remember the texture plate being a bit temperamental on the A1 when I first got it. So either that's just user error or a setting that I've got wrong left over from when I was testing in the week. So although it looks like you might need a little bit of knowledge about a few tweaks and settings to tinker with here and there, there's not too much of a barrier to entry in getting one of these printers if you're brand new to 3D printing, like I was when I got the A1 behind me. And I know for a fact, if Bambu, I say if, hopefully when they bring out a super tack for the H2D, I'm going to be loving life. So yeah, I am really glad I bought it. Not just for the bigger build plate. I mean, the A1 behind me, 256 by 256, it's just too small for most helmets. Why is it set to that size? It's just frustratingly just too small. So now with the bigger build plate, I can do full-sized helmets, life-size props. The alien head behind me was at 92% because it just wasn't feasible to do it at 100 on the A1. If I was to do that again now, I could print it so much easier on the H2D. It's quicker as well. What I didn't mention is that you printed this an hour faster than the A1. So all in all, probably going to give it about an 8 out of 10, just because I'm not sure about whether the issues with the bed adhesion and the fails are something to do with user error, or whether there truly is some issues with the default settings or the build plates themselves or the heat bed, because that's the sort of thing I have been reading on Reddit. But for now, all I really care about is that I am getting good prints off it, and I can crack on with this rather epic Kratos from Wicked. And sorry if I haven't done a deep dive into all the settings and all the features. There's so many videos out there that already cover that kind of stuff. This is just meant to be a kind of real video about a real reflection of somebody who's quite new to the hobby and decided to make a bit of a crazy plunge on getting such a beast of a printer. So if you found it helpful or entertaining or got anything out of it whatsoever, then please consider subscribing, commenting, liking. You could even become a member. There's some great perks, or there is a buy me a coffee link in the description. But any way you do choose to support me would be amazing. I'd really appreciate it, and it will really help my channel grow. But before you go, why not head over to my channel where you'll see some great videos from the A1 of some really successful prints. And if you're new to the channel, it will give you an idea of the sort of thing that I'm trying to do. And everything is always printed 100% FDM if I can help it. In fact, my resin printer has been gathering dust for years now, and I'm hoping to keep it like that, just because I find it really messy. And I seem able to get, especially on the big figurines, some epic results out of FDM printers. So if you want to see more of them, head over to my channel and take a look through the videos. Right, I'm off to try and figure out why that bed adhesion test failed so dramatically, and hopefully I don't find any massive gremlins anywhere. Right, I'm going to crack on then, so I'll catch you next time.